We're on day 4 of lesson 1 in the God Walk, a Journey of Faith. Today's lesson talks about a young man who pursued his own way, and to his disappointment, he found that his way led to the pig pen. We're going to talk about that. This is day 4 in realizing where you are. And you remember that story that Jesus told about what we call the prodigal son. And the young man that thought he could do better by taking his inheritance early and going out to the world to enjoy life. He spent all of his money on partying. And I might say, while he had money, he was pretty popular. He could have a great party, have great friends, and any woman that he wanted to come and be a part of that party. But the day came when he was broke and he couldn't even buy a meal. And the only work he could find was feeding the hogs on a hog farm. That was his bottom. You've heard of that saying about reaching your bottom. Well, he had reached his bottom. The bottom that we come to that awakens us to our great need for God is different for each one of us. For some, it's when their spouse finally walks out the door. For others, it's when they discover that others have found out what they're doing. And for some, it's just, I can't go any further. I've gotten as low as I can get. This young man was raised in a culture that considered hogs unclean, and they were not even allowed to touch them. Now here he was in the hog pen, sharing slop with the pigs. Then Jesus said, when he came to himself. Amen. He finally realized, I'm in bad shape here. When he finally realized what his lifestyle had caused, he remembered that his father treated his servants better than he was being treated, feeding the hogs, eating their slop. The prodigal ran home and found his father waiting for him. This story always grabs me because the picture of a father who is heartbroken because he sees what his son is doing. Yet he knows that he can't go get him. It has to be a decision on his own. If it would have worked, the father would have gone to the hog pen and pulled him out. But he knew that wouldn't work. He didn't track the boy down and put money in his pocket and try to pamper him until he came back. No. He waited for his son to come to himself and come home. If the father had gone running after the wayward son, making compromises, it would have been unfair to the son who did not leave, and it would have prolonged the son's rebellion. To continue feeding a lifestyle that was contrary to all that the family stood for would have been wrong. My friend, when you follow your own way, and you know when I say that, follow your own way, but in reality, you're following the way of the one who Jesus calls the thief that came to rob, steal, and destroy. He came to pull you out of the sheepfold and cast you out among the wolves. And when we think through our own means that we can do better than what God can do for us, I can tell you right now, we are headed for the pig pen. At this point, and I really believe this is a point in this story, the father did not compromise his principles because of his love for his wayward son. He continued to love and hope until his son came home, there where he could once again enjoy the abundance that was in his father's house. But he waited for the son to come home. I've heard people whose lives were a mess. They were just living totally contrary to what scriptures teach. And some tragedy happens. And they come crying, saying, I don't know why God let that happen. My friend, if God had not let the tragedy come, then it would have prolonged their disastrous lifestyle, and it would have caused more pain down the road. But God has the wisdom to allow you and I to suffer the consequences of our choices. And there comes a time when we must come to ourselves, like this young man, the prodigal, and we must realize where we are and what we are doing is destroying our life. And then we realize how we can come and again be in the Father's house. Amen. I challenge you today, open your heart. Let God deal with you. Let him bring you closer and deal with the sin that has caused you such agony. Well, in our workbook section, where we ask the question of what happened to this prodigal son when he chose his own way. Think about that. And it wasn't just, oh, I woke up broke and, oh, I'll do it. No, it was the consequence of his actions. How did that affect his life? And again, he woke up, came to himself in the pig pen. Now, I want to ask you, how does this part of the story relate to your life? What has your behaviors, even though they've come now to the point of being undesirable and you want to get rid of them, what have they caused you to come to in your life? And then remember the Father's attitude toward the Son. And God's attitude toward us. Give some thought to that. Spend some time in prayer, meditation, as you work through this workbook section. And we'll be talking with you again on Lesson 5. God bless, and you just have a great, wonderful day.